here. Been through hell and back. I'm here. I'm stronger than I know I'm gonna be fine. I'm here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Golden's Guide to Divorce. I'm Deborah Hawkins, your host, and we're here in Bronx Studios, and I'm really happy to be here, as I always am. Today, it's going to be you and I, but I have got some great questions that some of the watchers and listeners have sent in. So I'm excited to get right into the questions because I think there'll be some information in here that will help everyone. All right, so let's get started with the first one. So I think, I may start doing this a little bit more because I am getting more and more questions. I won't be able to answer all of the questions that I received in the last couple weeks, but I'll be able to get to several today. And so I think I'm going to call this, we're going to have it every once in a while, Dear Deborah. So, all right, so here we go. Dear Deborah, I was married for 18 years and divorced as a result of an affair. I have been divorced for a while now. However, I cannot stop thinking about them. I just keep thinking that he's found someone and I'll never find someone and feel that way again. So, wow, that's really a rough one. And I think when you talk about, when there is an affair involved, it gets really layered up. Because I think you have, sometimes it goes into comparison of you and the other person, also self-esteem issues. So let's talk about this a little bit. I think number one, don't beat yourself up. Like I said, an affair, when someone else is with another partner, and that's the reason for the divorce, it can get very sticky and difficult. So don't beat yourself up for feeling this way. I think it's pretty natural. A lot of times when we're doing that whole comparison thing and, we probably think, oh, they're having a great time and they're having the best life. And, I'm over here doing whatever. I never really think that's truly the case. And, because most of the time, the other partner is now experiencing probably some of the traits that you weren't very happy with when you were married to them. So that's something to kind of keep in your mind. I mean, Instagram and Facebook and social media, they always want to show the good. So, and that might be another thing is to like stay off social media if that's if you're afraid of, seeing them. I think this goes back to us really, this is why we do the work. This is why we do the show. This is why we use our tools, because it's our job to focus on us, even though it's really easy, especially when there's a huge event like like someone else being involved. It's so hard not to compare, and it's so hard not to be so triggered by the other person. And you can kind of get into that loop of thinking about them. And this is where I really believe the work comes in, where we have to focus on ourselves, as hard as it is. Whether you have to put reminders all over your house, turn off your phone, turn off social media. This is the time for you to really be focused on you. You have to be home for yourself. And the more that you're thinking about them, you're kind of creating your future. Like you're thinking about them and what they're doing and their future, and you are not thinking about yours. And there's nobody home, in your space. So, I think that's where, therapy can help and that deep work that we've been talking about. Um, like I said, it's so easy to focus on the other person and to think other people have great lives, they're doing great things, but that's generally never the case. Everybody's got crap in their closets, right? But it's your job now, coming through a divorce, to really turn all your attention back to you. It's about excavating you now, finding out, maybe now is the time, instead of using that time, attention, and energy of focusing on your ex and whoever they're with, to really bring it back to you. Because if you started spending all that time on thinking about, well, what do I want to do? You know, um, what would I like to be going and doing, rather than, fantasizing about what they're doing. Um, and also, there is you're not available if you're always thinking about your ex and their new love or whatever. You're not available in your own head, in your own space, in your own consciousness for you know someone else to come in if you do want to have another relationship, because you're way off thinking about them. And you may be somewhere and somebody may notice you, but you are completely oblivious and turned off to it because um, Elvis has left the building. You're not here taking care of yourself. um, so you want to be available for you. You want to come back home to you. You want to work on, okay, who am I now as a single person? What do I want? Maybe look at some of the hobbies that you used to love and you stopped doing. I mean, that kind of happens to all of us in relationship. Maybe going back to look at things in your childhood, things you always wanted to do. Um, I know one of the first things I did after I separated was, I've always wanted to jump out of an airplane, and that would have never been okay um, when I was married. And so now I've fulfilled that dream. That was a big bucket list item for me. And by the way, I want to bring in some footage and show you that. But I mean, make a list and of all the things you've wanted to do, come back home to you, find out who you could be a whole new person in there. I'm finding out that I am, and I kind of like it. So, really go for it. And there's one more thing I want to say to you about this question, and that is, um, you know, when you talk about being attractive, I speak about being attractive not in the way that, oh, she's so pretty or he's so handsome, but in the idea that, when we're happy with ourselves and we like our lives and we love what we're doing, that shows. And it almost makes us more magnetic when we're out in the world. Have you ever walked into a room and somebody was just so like a bright light and you were just drawn to them, so you want to come back home to you so that when you go out into the world, you can spread that light and love and joy and receive it back. So I hope I hope that's really helpful. Okay, next question. Dear Deborah, my ex and I are separated and we get along really well. Should I continue to have sex with him? Sometimes I feel like it's okay, and other times I feel like it's so wrong. Hmm. Well, I think there's two things. There's a two-part answer here about that. And one is emotional and one is legal. So let's talk about the legal one first. And I guess it depends on where you are, what state you're in. Um, but I think in South Carolina, if you are legally separated and um, spend the night with your ex, um, I think the time has to start all over again because you have to be separated for a year before you can get the divorce, unless there are some really outside circumstances going on. So you might want to check with your attorney on that, but that's the legal piece. But the one that I think is even more important is the emotional piece. If you are going to be intimate with your ex. And that is, I think women in general, I think we're more chemically uh, attached to our mates when we are very intimate with them. I think men, in general, I'm speaking in general here. I think if you're talking about men and women, and also, same sex, I think generally one person is more, maybe a little more on the emotional side than the other. There's always that masculine and feminine, whether it's man and woman or same sex or transgender or whatever. So I think women just are chemically made to be more emotionally attached. I think it's easier for men to have sex and walk away. That's not everybody. I'm just saying, generally speaking. Um, so I would want you to really think this through, that you're not setting yourself up, to be hurt when everything's said and done, and they find someone else. And because I think that spending that intimate time with someone just really keeps that connection going. Now, there may be a lot of people that, friends with benefits or whatever, maybe that's very easy for them. But I think for a lot of women, it's really hard to be intimate and not want to continue the connection. So, you might really want to consider that. Also, and, if you're really serious about being, separated from this person, with a divorce, I mean, you might really want to consider that. Um, would you be prepared and ready when that is said and done if you're still on this deeply intimate level? Of course, the choice is always, everybody's different and things work different for everyone. But if you're questioning whether it's okay or not, or if you're having kind of a in your gut about whether it's right, then I would say really take these insights into consideration if it's going to be something that's really going to work for you. So, hope that helps. Next question. Dear Deborah, my divorce is final in a few months. There was abuse during the marriage. I know that I shouldn't want to still be with him, but I do. Please help. This is a serious one. When there is abuse involved, you didn't mention whether it was mental or physical, but abuse is abuse is abuse, and it doesn't matter. It's all damaging. So I think this happens a lot. Um, I think sometimes people even stay in relationships longer than maybe is best because, well, generally, I think there's, two kinds of people. I mean, if you have had some sort of abuse in the past, you're obviously more likely to stay. Otherwise, probably the first time something happened, you would walk or you would say, let's get our butts to therapy or something. There would be some sort of consequences. But for people, who are in relationships where their abuse, I think a lot of times it goes back to what we've talked a lot about on the show about patterns. And, patterns can go back to our childhood. I mean, it's also what you get used to. Um, a lot of times, the patterns that get set up in childhood or teenage years can leave the door open to different types of abuse. Um, and somehow, we can make it okay. It might even be that, maybe you saw one of your parents be abused, and that just kind of lingers in the consciousness. And I certainly understand that hearing, whatever type of abuse it was, if it was mental abuse or physical, generally, I mean, people are gonna, after hearing years and years of it, um, I don't, I'm not sure how long you were married, but if you've heard it a lot, then after a while, I think you can start to believe the lies. And, whether people are saying, well, no one else is going to love you, or you're never going to find someone like me, or you'll never be able to do it without me, or whatever. I mean, you can start to believe those things, and it's just so damaging. Um, and this is really serious. I don't want to beat around the bush on this. Um, I think you definitely need to seek out therapy if there's still any sort of attraction to it. Um, and when abuse is happening, it attacks the way you think about yourself and the way you feel about yourself. And so it's the self-esteem and all those kinds of things. It's really serious. So I'm going to say I would definitely want you to work with a therapist. This is really trauma, and um, if I have plenty of therapist friends, so if you need a suggestion, please contact me, and I'll be happy to refer you to someone. But this is really deeply rooted, and there's nothing wrong. Do not feel bad. Do not be ashamed if you still feel some sort of attraction, but it's generally not an attraction to the person themselves. It's more of that um, deeply wounded place that feels like that's all I deserve. So I want you to really, really think about that. It's really important that you come back to yourself. And, it makes me think about something. When I think about abuse, I heard a story a long time ago, and I always have come back to it. And that is, you know, even a child who is abused will, if it's being taken from its mother, say from a social worker or a policeman or whatever, and they're trying to take a baby, an infant from its mother, it will cling to its mother because that's all that the child knows. And even though what they know is abusive and bad and wrong, they're going to cling to it. So think of this part of you that maybe wants to still stay connected to this person as the child inside that is still looking to. Sometimes they say that we can replay trauma over and over and over until we go inside and do the internal work and heal over those wounds so that we would not be attracted to someone who would ever hurt us. So just know, what you're feeling is normal, and don't beat yourself up, and let's get you some help. So if you don't know of someone, or if you're not in therapy already and working on it, please reach out to me again, and I will make sure that we get you some help. Okay. So this is I've got a lot of other questions, but this is the last question I'm going to do today. And this is, Dear Deborah, I know this sounds crazy. I've been divorced for a while. I live in the same town with my ex. As a matter of fact, he's only a few miles away. I'm terrified of running into him and his new girlfriend. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I would say, chances are you probably could run into them. And I would say probably the first time you run into them, it's definitely going to be awkward. But I would also say just to be yourself. Don't try to be anything different. If you want to say hi, you could say hello and just keep going. If you didn't want to speak, you could just keep going. If you just wanted to wave and keep going, I would say just kind of whatever you're really feeling. It's important for you to be authentic with you, and there's no wrong or right answer here. It's just going to be however you're feeling at the time. I will say that years ago, and this was a different ex, by the way, not the most recent ex. My ex and I lived in the same town for like years and years and years. And my son and I used to laugh all the time about, we'd think, oh, we're definitely going to run into him. And you know what? We never did. We never did run into him. And it was quite a few years. So don't put yourself in the future and worry about something that may actually never, ever happen. So take that worry off the plate, girl. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I have the golden tool for you for today, and some final thoughts. So we'll be right back. And welcome back to Golden's Guide to Divorce. I'm Deborah Hawkins, and we're going to talk about the golden tool for this episode. And I love sharing tools with you that I've been using over the years for myself and for my clients. And this one is called Mind Movies, and it's very easy to do. And it's certainly something that you can do all on your own, and I think it's really helpful. So the idea behind this is basically recording in your own voice. I actually use my phone, and or you could do it on your computer. I guess you could do it however you wanted to. But it is recording in your own voice, in detail, something you're wanting in your life. There's that saying, you get what you focus on, and this is another great way to focus on it. you're s- you're speaking in your own voice. You're talking about, and you want to talk about it like in real time, um, like it's not in the future, like it's happening. Like let's say, for instance, you were really interested in buying a new home, and so you might record, "Oh my gosh, I love walking into my new home, and uh, the floors are so beautiful, and I've got so many windows, I've got so much light, and the rooms are spacious, and I love the yard." And so you're really describing everything that you're really wanting, and you're visualizing as well. Now, this is scientific, because the more it's said that when you use visualization, the more that you can use all of your senses, being able to really visualize and sense and smell and almost feel like you're there, the more likely it is that this can actually happen in your life. It kind of lets the brain know, oh, yeah, we can do that. We can have that. Um, so, and if you think about, I mean, like all great, we need Mark in here right now. I mean, all great athletes have mindset coaches, and, that work with them on visualizing, they all visualize, you know, making that jump, or throwing that pass, or, you know, getting that basketball in the hoop. I mean, that is in golf. Golf, there's so many mind coaches that are used in golf. I actually know one, and he does quite well for himself, by the way. So it's a great way to add a tool to your repertoire of being able to think about moving forward and creating the things you want. I'm using it as I'm, leaving divorce behind and leaving that life behind, and really thinking about, what I want to create in my life now. Now, by the way, it would be a great idea to spend a little bit of time thinking about what you really want. What is it that you want to call in next? Is it a home? Is it, is it another person? Is it love? Is it, and if you're going through a divorce, give yourself time to do the work. I'm going to say that before you call in at somebody new. But, maybe even for a job, or, it's funny, I'm sitting here because I can remember saying years ago, um, if I, it would be the best day ever if I could just be behind a camera and share and teach people. And lo and behold, here I am years later, you know. Um, I also, this is another funny thing, years and years and years ago, um, I flew to New York and actually auditioned, did a screen test for a reality show that was going to be called The Divorce Whisperer. And here I am now doing Golden's Guide to Divorce. So, it's interesting what we plant, the seeds that we plant in our minds, and how they can actually come to fruition, whether that's, in a short time or in a long time. It's kind of just what's looping around in there. So really think about what it is you want. Maybe make a list, and then record it, and then listen to it as much as you can. I like to listen to mine first thing in the morning, because they say the mind is very open first thing in the morning. And then I like to listen to it at night, so that when I go to sleep, I'm kind of thinking about that. Um, One other piece I like to throw in here too, I mean, there's a lot of things said about law of attraction and that kind of thing, but in the end, law of attraction, to me, without the divine involved, is not, it's kind of like giving God your menu order or whatever. I mean, I always do ask for the highest good for me and the highest good for all when I'm really thinking about creating. So I just want to put that out there. Let me know how you do with this. Let me know how this works. I've had tremendous success with helping other clients do this, and sometimes I would record it in my voice speaking to them, and sometimes of course we'd record it in their voice. So I can't wait to hear what you think about that. Okay, so let's move on to final thoughts. And I want to thank everybody for sending in the questions. Those are really fun for me to kind of pull the tools out of my toolbox that I've had for years. I've been coaching now since probably the early 2000s, and I've had the opportunity to coach some really amazing people. And I know that these tools work. And anyway, thank you for sending in questions. Please keep sending them in. I'd love to hear your comments. Tell me, I've had some great feedback about some other things that people want to talk about. As a matter of fact, tune in next week because I will be addressing something that the whole show will be about what they asked me to talk about. So I'll be having a guest on, and we'll be addressing that for you, and can't wait for you to hear that. Anyway, going back to the questions, if any of my answers were too vague or maybe didn't hit the spot or I didn't go deep enough, please feel free to reach back out to me again, and we'll take it deeper. And I would love to support you. Let's see. It is hard to answer some of these questions in a minute, but I do want you to know that I can do a laser session if like I said, if you've got a question that we didn't go deep enough on, and we can kind of get to it deeper. My goal has always been to try to find the tools, like I show you every episode, that work fast and are fairly simple. It's just being committed to doing them. So I appreciate all of you who were courageous enough to ask the question. And as you know, it begins with the question. When you begin to ask those types of questions, then you're going to receive some answers, and you're going to be open now to hearing so that you can do something different, so that you can create a different life and a different outcome, which I think that's why we're all here. Speaking of, in the meantime, keep growing, keep asking questions, finding yourself, and remember, we are still here. Until next time.
I am here, I am here, I am here. After all my tears, I am here, facing all my fears. I'm alive and I'm alright. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be fine. I am here, been through hell and back. I am here, I'm stronger than the doubts inside of my mind. Yeah, I know I'm